Hello, and welcome to the Power of Your Mind podcast, where we dive deep into the world of manifestation, the law of attraction, and the unlimited potential of your mind. You are listening to episode number 300. I'm Victoria Gallagher, and just a quick reminder to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform so that you never miss an episode. If you are new to this show or new to me, just let me introduce myself. Once again, I'm Victoria Gallagher. I am a best-selling author of Practical Law of Attraction and founder of HypnoCloud apps, HipTalk.com, but also the new Believe app. And so if you are tuning in for the first time or you've been with us on this journey of transformation, I am so excited to welcome you here where we harness the law of attraction to turn your dreams into reality. Now, in case you missed the most recent episodes where I talked about the new Believe Hypnosis app, I just want to remind you that we are now live in the app stores. We did it finally. And so before we dive into today's episode, I want to give you a gift of getting 30% off a 1-year subscription to the app. And the best way to do that is to head over to our website. Start there at believehypnosis.app. Then what you're going to do is click Try Believe Free. You're going to create your account, and then on the next screen, you're going to choose yearly. You'll enter your promo code, which is POWER, POWER, and you're going to get 30% off the entire year. And from there, you can click the App Store button to download the app, and you are in. Once you log into the app, everything is unlocked, and you'll have unlimited access to everything in the app for an entire year. All kinds of amazing hypnosis, meditation sessions, over 1,000 transformative audios from law of attraction to business success, all there to guide you, inspire you, and elevate you. And before we dive a little bit more into today's episode, just a little bit more about myself. So, I'm a best-selling author, hypnotherapist for 25 years, digital and course creator, speaker, entrepreneur, specialized in helping people, especially business professionals, use the power of their minds to manifest success through practical strategies, including the law of attraction. And I am so passionate about personal growth, meditation, learning. I love cats. I'm a visionary behind the hypnosis app Believe, which is designed to revolutionize your life by making powerful hypnotherapy and manifestation techniques accessible to everyone. And I am on a mission to help millions of people worldwide. So today we are going to be discussing gratitude, the power of gratitude. And so before I dive into today's topic on gratitude, just kind of want to give you a little bit of an overview of why, how this all came about, why I decided to talk about gratitude today. So here I am today. It's the day after my husband's birthday. Yesterday was my husband's birthday, turned 47. It was March 9th. And today is March 10th that I'm actually recording this. This will go live and air this Thursday. It's Sunday that I'm recording this. And, leading up to today, I always thought that episode 300 was just going to be this really super episode where I was going to interview some amazing person, like maybe Jack Canfield or Tony Robbins for that matter. And it just didn't come together that way because over the last several weeks, I've just had so much on my plate between preparing for 2 amazing presentations that I just gave in Florida. One was on the 6 abundance blocks, which is an amazing presentation, and the other one was on becoming more magnetic, and another amazing presentation that I gave there. And so leading up to that, I was preparing for those presentations. I also released my new app, and there was just so much going on that I didn't even have time to like get the guest together that I was going to want to have by today's this episode number 300. And so there was a day that my husband and I were out. So I was in Florida for 8 days, and I was there half for the ICBCH Winter Conference that's put on by Dr. Richard Nongard, who's an amazing, talented hypnotherapist and a friend of mine. And so I was there. I gave those presentations. It's a 3-day conference, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I spoke on Saturday and Sunday. My husband came with me and attended all of the classes with me, attended my 2 classes. So we had like really an amazing experience, got to connect with a lot of my friends. I got to introduce my husband and to kind of integrate him into my social network there, which was just a wonderful, wonderful experience. And then from there, my father-in-law, my husband's dad and stepmom, they live in Port St. Lucie. And so that's about an hour and a half to maybe 2 hours from Orlando. So we just decided to sandwiched these 2 trips together, drove down to Port St. Lucie, stayed in his amazing, beautiful home there that's right on like a little river behind. They've got a beautiful swimming pool and a jacuzzi. And so, anyway, we stayed there and it was a pretty low key little trip. We did some fishing. What else? We went out to dinner with, some of our friends, or actually not friends, but with some family members. Anyway, all that to say, there was one day where the 2 of us just had a little downtime and we took a walk. And as a lot of you guys know, this last year, 2 years, to be honest, it's been pretty hard for me. It's, been mixed with a lot of ups and downs. And I'm just kind of like right now, just kind of going off the cuff here, because, I decided that I'm going to talk about gratitude today. Because, it came up in a conversation the other day, and I was really just putting together like some really good natural organic stuff that I just wanted to get off my chest in that moment. And the way that I said it, I don't know if I'll actually say it again the exact same way here, but it just, was really just a powerful conversation. You just sometimes just having those walk and talks with your husband just really help to I don't know, even the times that I just walk by myself, I don't know if you ever do this, but sometimes I'm just out for a walk and I just will open up my microphone on my phone and I'll just start talking. And lately, I actually have been able to have these conversations on my phone when I'm out and about. And rather than just recording it, I'll just have the conversation with ChatGPT because then it's all like in text format and I could actually go back and kind of see what it was that I wrote. Well, we chatted back and forth about, and it can make for a really great conversation. Anyway, so even then, I wasn't thinking necessarily that this was going to be the episode that I was going to come up with. But once again, I was chatting with my husband like yesterday, and I was like, God, I still, I still need to record this episode number 300, and I'm not sure what I'm even going to talk about. It's like when you recorded this many episodes, you've had all these amazing special guests already, and you don't have a new special guest lined up that really fits episode number 300, what just really feels like a big deal. It's like, well, what do we talk about? And so Steve he's like, well, maybe go back to what was the first episode that you did? And that first episode that I did was on gratitude. If you go back and you listen to episode number 1, you will see that was my first episode, and it was epic. And it actually got quite a lot of listens, a lot of downloads, and it was like a brand new. I was just reading over that script. I actually still have the script of that episode, and it's like interesting to see how, how things have transformed, what the journey has been like since recording that episode. And I see here where I said, I'm really excited to begin this new journey of podcasting, something that I've thought about doing on and off. And it's come into my awareness a couple of times. And literally this last week or so, I thought, what the heck? Let's just start this thing. It'll be a lot of fun. And so, when I started this podcast, I was also recalling the days when way back in the day when, like, gosh, in the early 2000s, like actually maybe even 1999 when I started my business, I did have a radio show. And on that radio show, it was like my own talk show. I had to pay for some airtime on it, and the radio show was called Hip Talk. And back then I got to interview a lot of really cool people. I actually was able to interview Dr. Deepak Chopra, Kelly Howell, James and Sally Redfield, and many others. And so anyway, at that point, I didn't know if this show was gonna be like a weekly show, a daily show, a monthly show, somewhere in between, and it took probably 2 years for me to record the very first 12 episodes. And, it was at that time when, a lot of people actually started reaching out and saying, "Hey, I wanna be a guest on your show." And that's when it ultimately became a little bit more of an interview show. And I've gone back and forth with the format. And, I'm just really flexible at this point to whether it's going to be, something that, I invite guests on occasionally or all the time, or, maybe I might revisit the idea again at some point to have a co host. I just kind of like, I'm just very flexible on where the show is going to go. But getting back into our discussion on gratitude, I don't really have anything extremely scripted out today. And that's something that I normally do. But today, I just kind of want to speak to you a little bit from the heart and tell you a little bit about, just my thoughts off the top of my head, when it comes to gratitude. First off, I think it's really important for you guys to understand, something that may seem obvious and it may not seem obvious, but I just, it's worth saying out loud that, even though like I have this podcast, I have probably, 30, 40,000 people download this podcast each and every month. And, it's kind of been at that place for a little while. And if I put a little bit more energy into promoting this show, I would definitely have gotten to a little bit more than that right now. But all that to say, I mean, that's actually a pretty good number. There are people, Joe Rogan, obviously, and other, popular podcasts, that we're not quite at that level yet. Well, maybe we'll get there at some point. But, to have a podcast that's reaching that many people, with as little effort as I've put into it, marketing wise, I think that's saying something. It's pretty good. So I really just want to thank you guys, and I really want to honor you guys. And I never want to just put out content that isn't going to be at some level really helpful to you. That was always my mission from the very beginning, was to create content that always had you really tapping into the power of your mind and giving you something that helps you to grow and to succeed in your life. And that's still going to be my mission, no matter what the format is, whether I'm just talking off the top of my head like I am today, or whether I have everything all scripted out, or whether I have guests, or whether I have whatever it is, I always want to give you something that you can really take away. And so today I just kind of want to share a little bit about what I was experiencing the other day and what was that magical conversation that kind of woke me up a little bit to this reality. Like, so as I started off saying, like, I'm just a normal, everyday person. I'm a normal, everyday person who, I live in a nice big house that, it was always a dream of mine to, um, live in a house like this. But it's like I'm married, to the man of my dreams, and I have a lot of really great things going, for me. I have my beautiful three cats, Velvet, Sebastian, and Emerald. They're all seniors. They go to the vet. They have, their normal checkups. I have my normal checkups. I, go for a walk pretty much every day. I fluctuate in my weight. Right now I'm at a little bit of the higher point than I like to be right now, and so it'll it'll come back down because now that I am back from all these trips and not going to be tempted with all these temptations, then we're going to put a little bit more focus on that. And all that to say, I go through my own ups and downs emotionally this last year with the whole app developer saga was really hard. And but here's the thing I want to say about that. It was really hard for me because one of the things that everyone is subject to going through, including myself, my this ordinary, even though I'm a best-selling author, I've written 5 books, I know this stuff inside and out. I've been studying and practicing personal growth and development my whole life, and yet I still have my own things that I deal with. I mean, I get up at 5 a.m. most mornings, not every morning. I meditate. I have my morning routine where, ultimately the way the morning routine goes is I get up 5 o'clock. By 5:15, I've made the coffee and, drink the water and get myself set up for meditation. I meditate, then I do hypnosis. Right now I'm actually juggling two apps for meditation. I'm still keeping my streak that I had. I don't want to give it up. My streak that I created on Insight Timer, which is close to 1,200 days in a row of meditating. And this could be anywhere between 5 minutes to over a half an hour, on average. And, somewhere in there, generally averages about 15 to 20 minutes a day. Sometimes, and lately, my husband has been joining me in the evening for a second meditation, which I'm so excited about. So sometimes I'm actually meditating twice a day. Anyway, I go into hypnosis, then I go into my journaling and reading, and then I go out for a walk. So my morning routine is actually pretty extensive. It it ends up being between like 5 o'clock till around 9 o'clock in the morning. I have a like pretty long, luxurious, morning routine. And one would think that with a morning routine like that, I'm just floating on cloud nine all the time. My life is just ticking away and just, no problems, nothing, to complain about. And yet I am still an ordinary, everyday person, just like you, who is listening to this, who deals with issues, who deals with sometimes I have anxiety, sometimes I have depression, sometimes things don't go exactly the way that I, am hoping that they would. And, and so the other day when I was, I was talking about like this, this app has launched. And so the app is launched, and now that the app is launched, I no longer am complaining about the fact that the app hasn't launched yet, right? So the app is launched and we're live, and I have a great app. What hasn't changed is that, development continues. Development continues. Bugs exist, things that we never really realized were going to be an issue in this app until you get a lot of users. And so now, of course, we're kind of having to balance priorities, kind of figure that out. And that all came rushing to me all at once because here it was. I was balancing getting ready for my presentations, app launches. I've got to juggle all that. And finally, I'm back here now and I can actually breathe and I can actually think straight and I can actually like look at what are the priorities. But there was a moment where it just felt like, ugh, what have I gotten myself into? Like there, I really did feel that way for a little moment because I felt like, app development is never going to stop. And I got to tell you, um, it's expensive. It's like extremely expensive. I have a team now of roughly 8. Now they don't all work at the same time, but sometimes, between the project manager, the front end developer, the back end developer, the QA person, there's a lot of people ultimately that anytime I need to make any kind of change, boom, like you've got a lot of people, and some of them just kind of like work around the clock, like full part time. And, and the app is not completely fully supporting that yet. And so all that to say, it was just like a little overwhelming when the app first launched, dealing with all of that and not even really even being able to look at anything and being out of town and constantly having somebody in your face. I was kind of having a little bit of a feeling of like an overwhelm and kind of a meltdown. Not even a real meltdown, but just a feeling of overwhelm and just a feeling of like, oh my goodness, like what have I really, gotten myself into? And yet at the same time, even though I had all of that stuff going on, every time I would have any kind of a feeling of like doubt or remorse or fear or anxiety or anything like that, when it got like just a little bit too much to handle, then all of a sudden the universe seems to send me some kind of a sign that like, like, oh, like, I got a really, really nice hypnotherapist. Just want to, give a shout out to her. Her name is Emma in the UK, and she shared the app. She was talking about how she was using the app and how amazing it is, and how and she shared a link, and I got all these downloads of people from that one little post. And it was just, I felt like it was just such a good sign from the universe, like saying, okay, Victoria, breathe. Everything is going to be okay. And, and when when we're discussing gratitude, I kind of want to get into like what it was that kind of occurred to me. And what occurred to me is like, I just kind of feel like if you could just live there, that is really the key to everything. I really started like feeling like, because anytime you are feeling anything other than happy, any or other than blissful or other than abundant or other than grateful, what's going on in your mind is that it's a focus. What are you ultimately focused on? You're you're focused on one or two things. You're either focused on the problem, that you're focused on the fear, you're focused on what you don't have, you're focused on the lack, you're focused on what's not working, or you're focused on just pure being grateful. And I truly am like starting to believe that, while like obviously all of these books are, ultimately lead you to attracting and magnetizing more of what it is that you want, comes down to, well, what are you, um, getting crystal clear on what it is that you want versus what it is that you don't want. I wrote that. I talked about that. I said that in Practical Law of Attraction. I own that. Like you got to put your desire out there. And, once you are very crystal clear on what your desire is, what are you thinking about? What are you thinking about? Are you thinking about, are your thoughts lined up with that desire? Or are you allowing your thoughts to go and talk about and think about what's not, lined up with that desire? Take me, for instance, when all of this stuff was going on, when I was dealing with those old developers, what was I thinking about? What was I talking about? I was talking about how things, how they were liars. I mean, how many times did I talk about that? How did, um, how they screwed me over, all of that. Well, what were my thoughts on? Were they on gratitude? Was I feeling grateful for any of that? No, I was feeling quite the opposite of that. And then of course that ultimately is like, what are you envisioning? Well, when you are thinking about things, coming from a place of lack, of abundance, you are, what are you picturing? What is the picture that comes to your mind? I was not picturing the thing that I ultimately wanted to happen. What was I feeling? I was feeling anxious. I was feeling afraid. I was feeling angry. I was feeling resentment. And none of that is coming from a place of, gratitude. And a gratitude, and I just talked about this in my conference. We talked about we talked about actually 6 of the abundance blocks. And one of those being a lack of expressing gratitude. Because, I truly believe that ultimately gratitude leads to abundance. Gratitude leads to you having everything that you want. So, what is gratitude? What is it? For those of you who missed my very first episode, and, I might have sprinkled a couple of episodes in between where we talked a little bit about gratitude. What actually is it? So, gratitude is ultimately a state or a feeling of being given to unconditionally. And, it really ultimately comes from like people, in order for me to have this business, have this podcast, there are things that are completely I don't control. I can't control whether you are going to listen to this podcast or not. Like, that is coming from a source beyond me. That's coming from a higher place. That is coming from, like indirectly, maybe, something inside of me is calling and creating that vibration and that energy and that thought process and that belief and the feeling and the vibration and all of those things that go out there to ultimately attract that. But the fact that it's coming back to me is that is the thing I don't have any control over. That is a gift. And that's what gratitude ultimately is it's recognizing the gift. Every single thing that you have in your entire life, every single thing is a gift. You go to work and you receive a paycheck. And that paycheck, that money that you get, that's a gift because no one owes you a job. No one owes you that paycheck. I mean, they do essentially because, by law, went and you worked and there are laws, but essentially no one had to give you that job. That was a gift. The fact that you have that job is a gift. No one has to listen to this podcast. Every single one of the people that listen to this podcast, that is a gift. Every single time somebody downloads my app, no one has to do that. They're not obligated to do that. That is a gift. Every single time somebody comes to my website and pays for a download or goes and pays for a subscription for my app, that is a gift. That is a gift. No one has to do that. I am being divinely blessed with something that is beyond my control. And so that is essentially what abundance is. And it'll completely change your perspective if you start to look at every single thing around you ultimately is a gift, and no one is obligated to give you anything. When you start to actually turn around and realize how much you are being given to, even your health, all the things that we take for granted, the fact that you are breathing air through your lungs and your nose and your mouth, the fact that you're able to listen to this, the fact that everything in your body is working perfectly right now in harmony so that you arrive at this exact moment in time so that you are hearing the words that are hopefully resonating with you right now. All of that is a gift. And if you can see it that way, if you can see all this stuff is so perfectly and divinely given to you, you will, how can you not feel blessed? Now, when you feel that blessed, so this is like kind of getting into the why would you want to practice? What are the benefits of practicing gratitude? Well, ultimately, it kind of starts with why, what happens when you are not grateful? What happens when you are not grateful and you kind of feel like, um, all these bad things are, you're looking at the bad things that are happening to you. And bad things do happen. I mean, and even to label it as bad is not necessarily correct. So, it's because it is a perception. Because, at the end of the day, you can't really have the good without the bad. You wouldn't even know good without the bad. You wouldn't know light without the dark. You wouldn't know positive without the negative. We live in a dualistic world, here on earth in our human experience. And so everything is a yin and a yang. And, so even to label something necessarily as bad or negative, you have to have that in order to have the contrast in order to really know what it is that you like, and what you want to ultimately go for. But when your focus is on bad luck, negative things, this isn't happening, this isn't working, it puts you into, the state of mind where whatever you are focused on is ultimately going to expand into more of the same. Think about all the people, that think, I have the worst luck. Do they ever actually
find themselves feeling lucky? They rarely do because they have the opinion or the experience, they create the experience that nothing good ever happens to me. And so they're focusing on finding proof that that's true because that's what our brains are designed to do. It's not something that you're intentionally doing, but unintentionally, you are going to find more of whatever it is that you are looking at. So, just conversely, when you look at all the things that you have been blessed with and you take an inventory every day of what is being given to you, guess what? You're focusing on abundance. And anything, if for anything, like this was kind of where what I was thinking the other day. It's like it doesn't even if you focus on gratitude, then it's going to make you happy. When you focus on gratitude, it's going to make you feel good. When you focus on gratitude, it's going to make you feel like you have a lot already to be grateful for. Like when you focus on that, whether you get the things that you want or not, like whether I get to 1 million subscribers or not, it's not going to change how I feel. It's not going to change, and not much is going to change anyway in your life when you get the things that you think that you want, that you think are going to make you happy. There's many people in the world that have a lot more, physical proof of things that they could be happy for. And yet they don't feel very happy, do they? And I mean, that's not the case in every situation. And it really just comes down to your opinion, your perspective, your experience of it. However, you are choosing to experience your life is the life that you are going to experience more of. Let me say that again. However, you are choosing, because it is a choice, how you think, how you feel, how you behave, how you act, all of that is a choice that you get to make. And, you know, and it's not necessarily the easiest choice in the world all the time, is it? It's not always the easiest choice. It's not easy when you've had a classic kind of like bad day. And I'm not saying like necessarily to be fake, but what I am saying is like when you do get into that situation where something can perceivably bad happens to you and you choose to dwell on that and stay in that and say, God, nothing good ever happens to me. Look, this keeps happening over and over. And you say that out loud, all you're doing is poof, you're making a command to the universe. Even just you're making a command to your subconscious mind to keep you in that state, to keep you dwelling on the bad and the not having the things that you really want. So if for anything, obviously that's going to make you feel bad. If for anything, just have gratitude just to make you feel happy. And you don't need to actually have what you think is going to make you feel grateful. You don't need to have what you think is going to make you abundant. You don't need to have those things. You don't need to be in a relationship and find your soulmate in order to be happy. You don't need to have a 5 figure, 6 figure, 7 figure, 8 figure, 9 figure month, year, whatever, in order to be happy. You don't need a lot of money to make you happy. You don't need to be in perfect health to be happy. You don't need to be at your ideal weight in order to be happy. You don't need to have everything all figured out and be exactly where you thought that you would be by now in order to be happy. Nothing. You don't need anything to make you happy. The only thing you need is a change in your attitude, a change in your focus, a change in what you choose to allow to impact you. That's what you need. And interestingly enough, that when you decide that you are going to focus on gratitude, and because you're focused on gratitude, and focusing on gratitude is going to cause you to become happier, guess what's happening? Your mood is changing. Your vibe is changing. Your, you know, feelings are changing. And guess what that's doing? That, because when you're focused on stress and fear and anxiety and all that stuff that makes you feel bad and lack and not gratitude, when you're focused on that, your brain is constricted. Your brain is not wired to see all the opportunities that are always all around you and available to you to help you to manifest the things that you want. Your brain is shrunk. Your brain is shrunk to see only what you're focused on if you're just focused on the negative. But guess what? When you feel good, you're calm, you're peaceful, you're happy, and your brain expands, and your brain is in a more positively oriented state, and your brain is able to pick up on similar energy vibrations, and it's expanded, and it's more productive and efficient and working in a way that's going to cause you to bring in more of the stuff that conceivably you thought was gonna make you happy and abundant and grateful. So you might as well just, focus on gratitude and learn to detach yourself from the way that you think that life is supposed to be right now. Because life is lifing the way that it is. And you have to accept that. You have to accept that, and accepting that from a state of gratitude, because you're alive and you're breathing. You have air in your lungs. You have eyes to see this. You have ears. You have a brain. You have a heart. You have all your functionality, as much functionality as you need right now to ultimately create whatever you want. And, if you think that, you have it so bad right now, just take a look around you. Take a look at, what's going on in um, other countries. And you might be listening to this from one of those countries. So if you're listening to this from one of those countries, you can also be very blessed to know that you're one of the people that has survived what is going on there. Um, and so that is, hopefully enough evidence as to why it would be absolutely the number one best choice that you can make right now is to practice gratitude. I'm going to get into a little bit of the how to practice gratitude, and then we're going to wrap up. So, how, it really does start with an intention. I mean, you can just think about gratitude and you can think, I intend to focus on what I'm grateful for. And you could just start there and you don't necessarily need any other tools other than just pure intention and desire to to change your focus. But there are some tools and there are some resources and there are some ways to create that habit. There's many different techniques for practicing gratitude. One of them, actually, I've been doing. My husband got me one of my books, journals, blank book, whatever you want to call it, from my wish list. And I think it's called a 5 minute gratitude journal. And it's like I don't even know how many days or pages there are in there, but it prompts you every day, 4 or 5 things, to, think about. And, so getting some kind of a journal that prompts you to focus on what you're grateful for, I mean, that really does help me in the morning. First thing in the morning too, it's a great way to start the day, because how you start your day is usually setting up the rest of your day. So I would say, starting the day with some sort of tool like that, where either, you write down like 5 or more things that you're grateful for. Sometimes people post their gratitudes every day on Facebook. There are gratitude challenges, 21-day, 30-day challenges. I actually created a ebook. I'm not going to go into the link because I'm just coming up with it off the top of my head. But I do actually have a gratitude journal that prompts you every day to think about some things that you're grateful for. But ultimately, just starting the day, writing down a few of the things that you're grateful for. And if you don't know what to feel grateful for, Start with start with just the physical thing. Start with your breath. I mean, like literally just start with saying, I am grateful that I'm able to breathe. That is the bare minimum thing you can be grateful for. I'm grateful for the air in my lungs. And you can just start going through the inventory of all the things that are working right with your body. And then you can begin to go to your environment. If you live in an apartment or a house, you probably have a bed. You probably have a couch. You probably have a TV. You probably have a computer. You probably have an iPhone or an Android. You probably have water that's clean that you can drink. All of these things. You're going to just go to the basics. Just start with the basics. You may not have the bank account that you always wanted to have at this moment, but maybe you have a bank account and it has a few bucks in it. It's more than some people have. And, so just start with the basics in every single area of your life and write those things down. And you can go for a walk in nature, or you can even just go for a walk and be grateful that you have all the things that go into you being able to go for a walk. Your heart is beating, your brain is functioning, you are wearing some sort of clothing, you have shoes on your feet, you are able to walk, you probably have 2 legs, and you have a place to walk. And then when you go for that walk, you can think about the air, you can think about the weather, you can think about the planets that all come together perfectly in order for you to exist. And just everything. There's just thousands of things. If you start to really dive into all the things, none of these things are owed to you. Remember that. All of these things. So getting into some sort of a morning routine, whether it's, going for a gratitude walk, writing down, Reading, there's books that you can read about gratitude. There's listening to gratitude meditations, which I'm going to ultimately close with in a moment. That there's I have many, many, many different meditations, affirmations, and hypnosis sessions right inside the Believe app, some of which are free for you to, listen to and download inside the app that are all oriented for helping you to raise your feeling of gratitude. So there are a number of ways. You can also, at the end of the day, so these are beginning of the day things. You can do the same thing at the end of the day, going to sleep, thinking about all the things that happened during your day that you can be grateful for. Another little tool that you can also use for gratitude is reframing. Reframing things that seemed like they were a bad thing or negative thing, and reframing and figuring out how did that ultimately end up turning, or how could it end up turning into a positive thing. And finally, I think just, it's good to mention that you can focus on gratitude in the here and now, but you can also focus on all the things from your whole past. I'm sure that you can go back and you can count umpteen different times in your life when something amazing happened that either was expected or was unexpected. So go back, and then also looking forward into your future at the things that you want to manifest. You can be grateful for things that haven't even happened yet. And if you mix those up, and you think about all the things that you're grateful for in the past, in the present, and in the future, and you kind of mix them up out of order, that is a wonderful way to. And I read this actually in Andrew Cap's book. I can't remember which one it was. Last Law of Attraction book you'll ever need to read. Or he also has the Feel Good. Um, all you need to do is feel good, something like that. I didn't know I was going to talk about that. But anyway, that's one of the techniques that you can use, is where you kind of mix up all the different times. Because really, and we won't, this is just a conversation to have for another time, but really, there is no time. Ultimately, it's all happening right now anyway. And so when you can ultimately kind of collapse time a little bit by thinking about past, future, and present, all the things that you're grateful for, and kind of mixing them up, you can ultimately manifest much better um, the things that you want to manifest, that you ultimately are grateful for and that you will be grateful for right now. So, those are just a few of my tips on how to practice the gratitude. And once again, I just want to say I'm very grateful and blessed for all the amazing things that, through all the challenges. I'm even grateful for the challenges, because the challenges ultimately they just help me be more me. They help me to have the content ultimately of having experienced and grown through all of these things to deliver to you, and to help me to write books, and to help me to have more of an experience of life, a well-rounded experience. And so I'm just really grateful for it all. And so I would love to hear how this episode has impacted you. Maybe you could also share with me, what you'd like to learn more about, what kind of episodes you'd like to hear more about in the future. Once again, I just want to mention to you to download the Believe app. There are over without even subscribing, without even signing up for the 14-day free trial to the year-long subscription. Before, outside of that, there are over 100 pieces of free content in there. I plan to keep about 10% totally free without any obligation whatsoever. So if you want to just try out the app, like I said, you just go to my website, believehypnosis.app, sign up for a free account and bypass the subscription. Otherwise, if you're here now and you are ready to subscribe and get all the content, all you got to do is uh, to get the 30% off for listening to this podcast, type in the word power, just where it says have a promo code, click that, type in your promo code power and apply, and that's going to take 30% off. And so, once again, you can find me at my website, victoriamgallagher.com. You can find me on YouTube at Hip Talk or Instagram at Victoria M. Gallagher. TikTok is at LOA Hypnotist. And I just really want to give you a warm goodbye and let you know that I am super grateful for you listening. I hope you got a lot of value out of today's Power of Your Mind podcast. Tune in next week for another amazing episode and have a wonderful week. Bye now.